right, we are live.
Awesome.
Okay, just share that out and then we'll get cooking.
Perfect. Okay, letting the team know. Okay, we are all set.
Good. All right. Cool. So welcome everyone joining. Welcome back to the Think Tank Live podcast. At Think, we streamline democracy so you can vote for you. It's time democracy gets an upgrade. Before we get into today's conversation, let's ground this in what we're really building. Our long-term goal is digital democracy, the future home for America's politics, built and owned by citizens, not gatekeepers, not big tech, not political parties, not even us at Think. It's about the citizens owning this system. And Fink's role is to be the referee. We're not here to pick winners or control the system. We're here to make sure the rules stay fair, the playing field stays level, and no one captures it. A lot of the technology already exists. What's been missing is public trust and citizen buy-in, and that's our job, to bring this into the mainstream and make sure it serves people and not power. That's why every week on the show, we break down what's happening in politics using a simple lens, up versus down, instead of just left versus right. Up means power first, down means people first. It's not left, not right, just representation. If you want to help shape what comes next, join our newsletters so you'll know when the Digital Politics Hub goes live in about 1 to 2 weeks. That's where citizens will start plugging in trusted voices, amplifying people first efforts, and co-building what comes next. So before we dive in, tap the heart, jump into the chat, hit follow, all those good things really helps us out and you don't miss any future episodes. All right, let's plug in.
Awesome. So today, just because of the holiday season, everyone, we wanted to talk about 2026, right? New year, new us. But more importantly, the 2026 should be on everyone's mind for the midterm elections, right? I think we still have a lot of emotions from the 2024 elections. And so all eyes are on 2026. So, like Travis said, at Think, we're streamlining democracy. And that's because democracy as a whole, right, has not been upgraded, gosh, I would say in 250 years, it seems like. But today, we're not talking about endorsing candidates. We're not talking about left versus right. We're not talking about winning a single election. For years, people have felt the system was against them, rigged, and they felt alone and isolated in feeling this way. So for the past 2, 3 years, think we have been aligning our language, our lens, and our mission. So now that we have that tightened up, we at Think are super excited about 2026. And 2026 for us is where coordination happens, is where we extend our hand and say, public, voters, people who care about democracy, join us on this journey of building something better. So as we enter 2026, I wanted to get a conversation rolling with Travis of why 2026 is such an important inflection point for Fink. It's not the final line, it's not the end all be all, but it's about building that people power. And how are we doing that with the hub that is coming out early January? The end all be all, but it's about building that.
Yeah, sure. So really this digital politics hub is a huge milestone for us. It's what we've been working towards for years, and we're finally at this coordination stage. So really the hub in itself is just a way to get, it's all about alignment and coordination. So we really want to just align everyone to really understand what the problem is that we're trying to solve, how we plan to solve it, and then most importantly, how to get you as the citizens involved in solving this problem, while maintaining your own autonomy and oversight in what we're doing. And so this digital politics hub is the first time that people could really get involved. Like, we've talked to thousands of citizens up until this point, and a lot of people want to get involved, and up until now, aside from like sharing our socials and engaging through social media, has been kind of the only way that people were able to do it. But now this hub really helps you really get in the nitty gritty of what we're doing. So there's certain things like micro actions that you can take. So basically, no average citizen wants politics to be a second job. So what these micro actions are is like allowing you to just spend like 5 minutes a day, maybe a couple days a week, doing a little bit of something on your phone and really feel like you're making a difference, because it's going to be spreading important awareness and moving the needle forward in a very important way. So without spending like hours and hours and all your time or causing a lot of anxiety and having to fight people, it's just going to be these small actions, like some of it just sharing a certain video clip or certain post coming from us or one of our allies. And so just small actions you can take that will actually make a difference, and doesn't consume all your time. So that's a part of it. There's other tools on the hub that just helps people understand like how to look at politics differently. That's really key. It's more than just like the tools that we're providing. It's really how to look at the big picture and look at like what are the core issues beyond left versus right. There's really a deeper issue going on that's causing this hypertension between left versus right. And that's the important thing that we need people to start to really understand and grasp. And a lot of people know it intuitively, but this gives it a lot more grounding to really understand what the core problems going on right now. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah. So something so special to me about the micro actions, I get on this this live every week, and so it might not be that apparent, but I have a lot of social anxiety. So things like protesting or going to a town hall meeting or calling my senator, right? The traditional ways of reaching those in power are often limiting to people with, social anxiety or neurodiverse people or people without a car, right? There are so many limitations built into the current system that having these accessible micro actions that don't take a lot of time but make a lot of waves when done in unison with other people. I'm just really excited to see that expand and see people start to dibble dabble in these small opportunities that, if you're just one person, sure, you're not going to change the world. But I'll let you know, as part of an organization that really wants to engage in public opinion, one share, one like, one comment, that means so much to organizations, politicians, reform movements. So yeah, I'm really excited to get those out into the world and see those, small efforts turn into this mountain. Maybe it's not of change, but mountain of support and getting the conversation rolling on how we start building this new, improved, more accessible system of representation.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So the micro actions is a huge part of this. We've been talking to different podcasters. We're getting excited about that piece to it. And like, at first it might sound like it's hard to tell what makes this different, but the beauty of it's like it's almost like the hub's going to be a nexus point to all different platforms. Like the way today is like not everyone's not on just one platform. Some of us use TikTok, some use YouTube, some use Instagram, so on and so forth. So this is kind of like a nexus where like here's the content, but then now you're able to share it on whichever platforms you like, you care about, you're part of. So that's one part that makes it unique, is kind of like, the content could be essentially the same thing, but with little variants per platform. And because the goal is just getting to getting general reach. We want just as many citizens to understand what the problem is, that we can fix this problem. And so it doesn't matter what platform they're on. We want this message to cross all platforms essentially. So that's a big part of that. And like really what this is all about right now, this stage is about coordination and just building the people power behind this. So we have you guys joining as future owners of the technology and giving your feedback, your priorities, what should we focus on, as well as allowing you to plug in trusted voices that you care about. Like you might have a journalist, a podcaster, a candidate that you think really shines and deserves to be lifted up, and that they are trying to fix these problems, but their voice is drowned out by the establishment and money. So we're giving you guys the ability to fill that information out, let us know of who you trust, and we're going to work with them and contact them and start building out this network, because we want citizens, we want politicians, journalists, independent journalists, podcasters, YouTubers, other influencers, movements, everyone that's not part of status quo, that genuinely wants a true democracy and genuinely wants to be represented, should be part of this and will eventually become part of this. And we want their voice to be heard and empowered.
I love what you said, Travis, of you're already on these social media platforms. So you can already kind of stay at home or where you're comfortable at while making these changes. And I would say that goes across the board of what is so special about FiNC's mission. We're not saying you as the voter are wrong. We are saying the system you will have been provided is wrong. You are already doing the right thing. You're voting, you're giving your $5, $10, you're showing up to protests. Things don't change. You are not represented. And so it's all about meeting you where you're already at. You want things to change. You know the system is BS. What do you do about it? And we say, gosh, come join the hub. Come help us spread the message and come build the movement with us.
Yeah, cool.
So,
go ahead. Go.
I don't have anything else. Do you have a final thought on this before I move on, Travis?
No, this is good for the hub. Keep going.
Cool. Okay, so what is actually different about 2025, right? So if you've been following us for a while, right, you've seen our evolution in language, you've seen our evolution in outreach efforts, right? And, yay, you get to come to some lives, you get to email us. But what we're really doing is in 2026, changing the opportunities and the access points of people in the election process. So the previous old method, right, had the same pattern of implementing fear, panic, choosing between two evils, right? And this manufactured sense of urgency. And that was built into the system, right? How do we scare you into voting for this bozo number 2? Well, bozo number 1 has to be worse, right? So 2026 is going to be a breath of fresh air, not because the system as a whole will be magically fixed overnight, because citizens will finally have the tools, platform, and opportunity to coordinate across their political belief systems into actionable change, right? So what can happen in the 2026 midterms? Well, as we've announced, January 5th, our Digital Politics Hub is launching. So that's the opportunity to coordinate, have conversations, do those micro actions. People are plugging into one space. Choices are clearer through things like politician report cards and different accountability tools. And the comparisons between candidates isn't based on who has the most money and the most clout, it's who has the most merit and who resonates with you. So again, we're not trying to win one election like a party. We're changing how choices are seen and compared against each other. So outcomes change without having to rely on that super hyper politicized, hyper angry, hyper isolation that happens too often in the two-party system. So to start this conversation, Travis, I'd like to ask you, what happens when fear-based voting ends and people can finally start to have clarity instead of pressure when they go to the voter box?
Yeah, so I mean, right now the key, like one of the most fundamental issues right now is that lesser of two evils. Most people are not voting for somebody; they're voting against somebody. Especially these days, the Democrats. The party as a whole has very low approval ratings right now, and yet they did pretty decent in the last election. Not because Democrats are winning so hard; it's just there was enough people going against Trump and that side that brought them to the polls. All the polling and stats prove that. Like even in many states, the registration numbers for Democrats are going down. Registration in general is increasing and more people are actually voting, but decreasing the favorability of the parties. So, more and more people are waking up to this, but it needs to grow exponentially that people have to understand. And it's also like when we're talking negative about either party, we're not talking about the voters, we're talking about the leadership. There's a difference between you as a Democrat or a Republican, what you think the party is fighting for. The voters, a lot of the voters are on a similar page as each other. It's those that are in office that are not actually fighting as far as you think they are. And then they're going to give excuses. Oh, the other party is why we didn't get everything that you wanted. No, it's the money that you're getting donated. The legal bribes that you take is a big part of that reason, along with a lot of other complexities of the broken system. But so the fear tactics and the like, well, I have to vote for this schmuck because the other guy is worse. Like, we need more than that. We're freaking America. Like, we're supposed to be this amazing country, the wealthiest country in the history of the world. We're the chosen leaders of the free world, all this stuff. And like, we have to vote for the lesser two evils, and we only get like these two crappy choices. Like, it's ridiculous. And we deserve better than that. We have better than that. We have amazing people in this country, and their voices are drowned out by those that don't want their voice to be heard. So going past the fear tactics is essential. And again, we're not even saying like, oh, you have to vote third party or Democrat, vote Republican, this or that. It's not even about that. It's about getting better choices, better Democrats, better Republicans, and then maybe eventually viable third party and independent candidates, but maybe not. We're not here to push it one way or the other. But the most important thing is more choices and better choices. And there is room for those better choices. It's just the system right now drowns it out. You have to raise millions of dollars. Like, before you're even on the ballot, you have to raise millions of dollars. You need the establishment on your side, or else the media won't give you attention. The parties won't give you attention. Like, the whole system is stacked against grassroots. It's stacked against those that actually genuinely want to represent you. So we all need to understand, unfortunately, the world's not black and white. It's not, oh, the other side is evil and my side is pure good. No, there's a lot of complexity, like all of humanity. So, go ahead, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say how, I don't want to say cool, but how, I guess, maybe it is cool that we, as just the regular public in the digital age, can become those content creators, can push quality candidates forward, right? So before, right, people would just kind of open their brains and let the news tell them, who is viable and who isn't. And that's not everyone, right? But what if there was more opportunity to help push candidates forward that weren't being supported by the news, right? So it's this almost balancing act between citizen or people power in the digital age versus the old school way of just waiting till 6 o'clock and the news comes on and you wait to hear two old guys argue over golf, right? Because that's what happened in the debates. So I just wanted to put that in there that we in the digital age, everyone is a content creator. Everyone has access to hundreds, thousands, millions of people. And so this coordination stage of FiNC is just, it's like a toy car, right? That is so pulled back that it can only shoot forward. And I'm just really excited for the coordination stage of people bonding together to create a new system.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, great points. Like, we talk about this a lot, that like, we're at the digital age, and for the first time in all of human history, average Americans or average humans can spread a message to millions of people. No other time was that possible until the internet. You had to have like, tons of money to like print a newspaper, mail it to everyone's house. You don't have to do that anymore. You just have to have a really strong message on Facebook, and then people will share it. So yeah, it's a completely different system, and now we just have to utilize it correctly. Right now, we're utilizing it for a lot of division and drama, and we need to do this now to bring people together. And like, we already know what people have in common. What FiNC is fighting for is about civics, not politics. It's about the system of choosing our leadership, our system of like, how do we pick our representatives? How do we, how do they end up in office and make decisions for us? we're upgrading the system itself, and there's no partisan divide on that. There's not like Republican voters saying they want one thing, Democrat voters saying they want something else. Like 85-90% of America want money out of politics. They want to end gerrymandering. They want possibly term limits on Congress. Let's stop the insider trading of Washington, that they could, have insider information, make millions on the stock market, and have all these conflicts of interest. There's so many issues where most America agrees, and it's about civics. It's about the system itself. It's not about what policy stance people stand on. That would work itself out if we just fix civics, but civics is broken right now. The process, how we choose our leaders, is rigged against us. It's the party leadership choose the candidate they want to win, and that person has a massive over advantage over anyone else before you even know what your choices are. So this is about, really getting people, again, it's about alignment and coordination. It's like, this is the goal. This is a goal that like most America could get behind. There's no division in what we're talking about. Like literally in this movement now, we have like centrist Democrats, progressives, socialists. We have libertarians on the right. We have moderate Republicans, traditional Republicans. We have some MAGA people now. Like every spectrum of politics are loving what we're about, because it speaks to every American. You want to be represented. You feel you're not being represented, and we want to hold government accountable. Like, so these are the things that we can come together on across all political beliefs, and like literally like 85-95% of people are going to want most of what we're talking about. And we're not pushing like, oh well, you're gonna have to agree with this on healthcare, this on social issues, or this or that. Like, no, that's up to America. But let's actually make it up to America, and not up to 1% of those already in power to make those decisions for us. And so that's what this is all about. And before we move on to the next segment, a new analogy that I was talking to an executive at Vote Nevada, and she helped me come up with this new analogy of like, it's kind of like right now the Democrat and Republican establishment are basically on this one train going really far ahead, and all the alternative choices each are on a different train on a different track. So you have like third parties on different tracks. You have like the separate wings of the parties that are on different tracks, like grassroots wings of Democrat and Republican. You have independent coalitions on different tracks. So everyone is trying to build a different train, build a different track, and like, so no one's ever going to catch up to the establishment, because you're diluting the resources, you're diluting efforts and voting power and people power. So we're never going to succeed if we're so fragmented. So what FiNC is doing uniquely is saying, let's build this one train. We can have different carts where we don't necessarily agree with each other, but let's build one train, one track, third parties in it, independents in it, even grassroots Democrat and Republicans. They could, again, have different carts of this train, but one big train, new modern bullet train. We could catch the fuck up on the other train, up to the other train. We'll speed ahead, because they're moving, but they're outdated. They're old. It's rusty. It's breaking down. They have no competition. It's just the two sides of the same coin. So they have no competition. So they're like crappy train. It's just moving steadily forward nonstop, but no one can catch up because no one's coordinating. So when we build our nice shiny new modern train, we can make a nice high speed rail and catch up to them and beat them. And the idea is like, we're all going to disagree, different parties, different, wings, all this stuff. They're not going to all agree on, they're going to all have different ideas on policy issues, but we can agree on a new civic infrastructure, a new way to do politics, a new way to make sure all voices are heard, both on the citizen side, that all citizens are heard, but also all candidates are heard, whether they have millions of dollars or not, and if they sell out or not. And then like, so we could build the same train, get to where we need to go, and then we separate, and then you see which candidate is good, which party wins in what district, and we could separate later. But as long as everyone's has these different ideas that keep us divided, no one's going to succeed. So this is building like an umbrella to encompass all the different efforts, all the different stances under one overall arching goal of true representation and being a real democracy.
That was so well said, and that's such a cool analogy, Travis. And before we dive into the nitty gritty of the hub, I'd love to reset the room, guys. So, welcome. You're watching Think Tank Live, where we use the digital politics lens. So it's not simply left versus right. It's up versus down, and that is a division of power, resources, and access to media. So at think of us as your civic utility, where we plug citizens and trusted voices into one shared hub, where we start building the digital democracy, which is the future home for America's politics. And to get involved, to get onto the hub that we're talking about, go over to our website, futureis.org. Sign up for the newsletter, should be right at the top. You'll get alerts, and you won't miss out when our digital politics hub drops. And that will be January 5th. And so you can start helping what comes next. So moving on to the more exciting piece of 2026, right, is how the digital politics hub and the midterms interact. So the hub will be where people can plug in now. It's our coordination space that will co-build the future that is digital democracy. So it's a launch pad, not the actual system itself. It's where people can begin to have quality conversations, have quality and concise language, where we all talk about the problem in a similar way, and where effort and momentum starts to really build. So the Digital Politics Hub is going to include things like membership, future ownership in the hub, where you guys can help us by suggesting trusted voices that you trust, that you already listen to, that you know are speaking about the problem accurately. You can plug them in to the hub. You can plug in journalists, candidates, and movements that you already are a part of, you trust, and they're already talking about the problem. We'll be talking about things like action clusters, where regardless of party or political stance, you can begin to organize around what you want to work and not simply by who you hate, right? And there'll be an opportunity to apply the up-down lens. Who in politics is a power-first politician and who is a people-first politician? So, Travis, let's start talking about what does success look like when the goal isn't about winning for one side or one party, but about better choices for voters? How does, when the hub drops January 5th, people start getting on it, how does that start giving fuel to that train that you were talking about? And how does that result in not this utopian, one person wins all, but voters have better access to better choices?
Yeah, sure. So it's really about, we want to prove that through culture and like this mindset shift, that we can evolve how we all choose who we're voting for. Right now they have us in their grips that like they know at the end of the day half the country is going to vote Democrat, half the country is going to vote Republican, and it doesn't matter how shitty they are, basically, that that's basically where it goes. Yeah, there's some swing voters, but essentially people are gonna vote D down the line or R down the line, and like almost nothing else matters. And that is poison. That just means like they could get away with murder, and they feel like they're not gonna lose votes. Like they can do whatever. Democrats could have no vision. Well, Trump's really bad. People are still gonna go out to vote against him. So good thing that we have him, because we don't stand for anything anymore. So what we want to prove is that's no longer good enough. We need to up the criteria, up the raise the bar of what a good candidate means. And so some of that includes just being more active in primaries. The primaries is a key place where you do have that's where like better candidates have a much better chance to win. By the time the general election, if citizens are not paying attention to the primary, by the general election, you're pretty much looking at the lesser of two evils already. The key is having a better primary and picking a better candidate for your side. So, imagine if just worry about your party. If Democrats worry about getting a better candidate for themselves, and then Republicans worry about getting a better candidate for themselves, that takes us a huge step in the right direction, so that even if your party loses, at least it's a better candidate than what came before. So it's not as big of a loss as it is these days. So some of it's that, but a big part is if they just start seeing people paying attention to who's funding campaigns, really understanding those conflicts of interest. Oh, I'm a Democrat, you're a Democrat. Oh, I care about healthcare, so I'm voting for you because you're going to fix healthcare. But now with the digital politics lens, you're like, wait a minute, you took $50,000 from big pharma 2 months ago. So how is that not going to influence legislation once you're elected? Obviously they're going to want a return on that investment. The big pharma is not going to give you 50 grand out of the kindness of their heart. They're going to get a return on investment. And why are both parties getting that money? If anything, Democrats get more of that money because Democrats are more prone to want to regulate healthcare, so they get bribed not to. So it's things like that, showing that people are paying attention, that it's not just, oh, Democrat, yay. It's well, not all Democrats are created equally. Not all Republicans are created equally. And so learning, just having it easier to understand, is the candidate serving me, or are they just serving their big donors and those in power? Part of this hub that we're launching is going to have a voter checklist of how to tell this information. You could go to opensecrets.org to see their funding sources. You could go to Unusual Whales to see if there's conflicts of interest in their stock market trading. There's going to be different ways to make it easier to determine how big of a conflict of interest these candidates have. Once digital democracy gets built, it's all going to be streamlined into one user-friendly profile, right in front of you. But there's a stepping stone to get there. But either way, it's all about making this information easier to understand, easier to find. So the moment that the establishment sees that more people are paying attention to primaries, more people are paying attention to funding sources, they're not just treating all people within the same party the same, that starts showing them that there's a big cultural shift and mindset shift in this country. So that's a big part of it. I mean, even just the sheer people power of joining this meta movement. We're calling it a meta movement. It's not just a movement, it's a movement of movements, because we're not replacing other movements. We want to encompass other movements and build a large umbrella for shared infrastructure. So the sheer people power involved, how many organizations join us, journalists, podcasters, and then especially citizens, just raw numbers of citizens joining, that speaks to them these days. If you have a large an influence block, if you're hey, I have 10 million people are listening to us on social media, and if we say something about a candidate being bad or whatever, 10 million people will hear that. That is a huge amount of influence. Maybe we're not going to get 10 million super fast, but even just tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, it adds up quickly and it grows exponentially. So just sheer showing that there's a lot of people, especially across political beliefs, showing that there's Democrats, Republicans, libertarians, progressives, all these different groups under the same umbrella, that's going to scare the shit out of the establishment. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, so as you were talking, Travis, so at FiNC, our goal, right, is to build the infrastructure so people can start, implementing the up-down digital politics lens to make better choices. So at FiNC, we're not a political watchdog. However, and let me know how you feel about this, Travis, we are building the infrastructure for every single citizen to start being a watchdog, right? The media doesn't call out bad politicians. Journalists, journalists that are bought, don't call out bad politicians. Politicians are barely answering their phones or showing up to town hall meetings. when is there accountability? Well, gosh, it's not the end all be all, this digital politics hub. But like Travis is saying, when you have people powered numbers, not money, not visibility even per se, but gosh, if an app had 5,000 people and everyone's dirty secrets of their financial funding was visible to all of them, well, gosh, shouldn't politicians be scared of what that says to the general populace? So yeah, I really like the idea of it, of the infrastructure, the hub being the opportunity for regular folks to be the watchdogs of people we give power to.
Yeah, I love that. I'm putting a note on that for later.
Cool.
But yeah, turning every citizen into a watchdog, that really hits the mark on like what we're talking about. Yeah. Because and it's so true, because like, no one wants this to be a second job. No one, I mean, even especially right now when people feel like their vote doesn't count and they're not being represented, they're not going to spend hours doing this kind of research. But if we can aggregate it, if we can like split up the work and like, a couple citizens do like some information on one candidate and then, this on others, and like, yeah, it makes the people the watchdogs. It makes the people hold the politicians accountable. Again, some of the tools will get more and more automated as digital democracy gets built, but it's always going to fall back to the citizens. What do the citizens care about? Where's the moral landing place? With like money in politics and things like that, and representation. So it's always people at the center of it all. I mean, that's a key, like what we're trying to do differently. Like there's other organizations that have talked about something like a digital democracy, but no one's doing it in the way that we're doing it, of like, it's all about people first. The tech comes second. It's about people having the oversight, being in control of this technology. We want you at the center of all of it. That's why we're calling everyone that joins as a citizen architect. You are here to build the future of politics with us. We're not just building something and then handing it to you. You're building it with us. So that ensures that it's a true democracy. It's a fair system. Doesn't get captured by big tech or big like gatekeepers or anyone with big money or influence. It has to be owned by the citizens if this is ever going to work. Otherwise, like, a tech can come out and start booming on like a digital democracy, but the moment sold to Facebook, nope, it's corrupted now. Immediately, it's going to be all about them making money, and it's going to be shoving people in a certain direction. Like that is a deal breaker. That will not be. That's not democracy. It's a fake democracy, and kind of what we're in now. So what we're talking about is truly making a system that's beholden to the people and serves the people, and it has to stay like that and never get corrupted. So that's the core of what makes this so different. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah. So, and it's not, we're not starting at ground zero and every citizen has to know everything day one on politics and civics. It is built and used by regular folks like you, me, your grandmother. And part of the aggregation of kind of the merits of politicians is also coming from those trusted voices of journalists, reform organizations. So it's not just, oh gosh, I have to know everything about every politician. It is your wants, your desires, your representation that is always at the very center. The ability to grade at rate politicians on their promises, their money, and just their overall ability to be a good politician. Those kind of rating systems are from from the trusted voices that you already trust, already approve of to judge the quality of someone's candidacy. So I just didn't want it to seem like we're throwing you in the deep. All of this information is coming from the alignment stage and the coordination stage that FiNC is building. We're talking, Travis has been on, gosh, probably 20, if not more, podcasts at this point, getting the good word out through independent podcasts. We've been having great conversations with leaders of reform organizations and different movements, and it's all about building that one shared space So all of these currently more isolated efforts have a real punch to them. Um, yeah, so I'm going to reset the room, Travis. I'm going to, do you have any final thoughts on that?
Well, just real quick, just to tag on what you're saying. Yeah, like also what like Liz is saying is we're building like a trust network. Because it's like not everyone's gonna trust everyone ever really, but like we want to build like okay, I trust this journalist trusts this candidate trusts like so we're gonna kind of systematize like layers of trust of like well and you and like again, it's not that everyone's going to trust everyone. You're going to trust some people, and then you're going to trust who they trust a little bit, and then the further it goes out, maybe you trust less and less. But we're gonna that's another layer to this is like kind of systematizing that as well. So also say is like you don't need to be the expert that like your opinion needs to be so perfect. It's more about who you trusting, use your intuition. You know that this person always does you right. So now like if they say something, you listen to them and now they're adding other people, they're saying trust this person, so that's a layer to this as well. It's just this kind of a networking trust as a system too.
That was great. Yeah, network of trust is exactly what we're building because it's not a pyramid where FiNC is at top. It's a round table where, gosh, the citizen and representation is everyone's aim. So let's reset the room. Welcome if you're watching us right now. Welcome to Think Tank Live, where we use the digital politics lens, where it's not simply about left versus right. It is about power. It is about upserving candidates or downserving candidates. Power versus people, and you can think of Think as a civic utility where we plug regular citizens like you and me and trusted voices into one shared hub, and this hub will grow into digital democracy, which will be the future home for digital politics. As we've been talking, you've heard us talk about the Digital Politics Hub. Go to our website, futureis.org. Right at the top, sign up for the newsletter and make sure you sign up so you don't miss when that drops. Be part of this growing movement and be one of the first people to really shape what comes next. So Travis, for our final bit here, I wanted to talk about how, like you said before, we can't just, we're not here to just build this amazing technology and just hand it over to the masses. It's really about a culture shift, a language, and kind of a shared agreement of, well, we don't agree on everything, but we agree that we don't want, like you said, insider trading. We don't want money to buy our politicians. So can we go deeper into the need and what kind of cultural alignment that is needed for systemic change and that will eventually lead to the inevitability of a better. Oh, Travis, I can't hear you.
Sorry. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so so like what you're saying, so we're always talking about like the core thing that we're looking to change is it's a cultural change, a mindset change. So it's about like when we talk about there's two main things we talk about. Digital democracy is like our long-term tech infrastructure plan, but digital politics is the new lens. We call it like the DP lens, digital politics lens, and that's a new way to see politics. And it's like based on the fact that we're at the digital age, we can do politics differently. I mean, it's the same thing as like, socializing has changed since the digital age. Back in the day, you'd have to like knock on somebody's door. Is Johnny home to play? And like, and then eventually you could call, and then there's a house phone to dial, and then came text. But like, so technology evolved how we interact with each other, and now you call, you text. No one show if your friend just shows up at your door. It's kind of rude nowadays. You're like, no, you call, you text it, not even call, you just text. Somebody's coming. So the point is like, society evolves with our technology, and the only thing that hasn't really evolved is our politics. We're still like, they're still spending most of their money on billboards and attack ads, and like we don't need to do that. We can focus on, like, imagine if we just plug in, every citizen is plugged into one system, every politician is plugged into one system. Like, politicians can campaign differently now. Instead of spending millions of dollars to advertise themselves, actually engage the American people on social media, and eventually digital democracy. They don't have to go door to door. They don't have to pay for millions of dollars in ads. They can just actually spend their time representing people and actually talking to the people now that we have a digital infrastructure. And so that's key for multiple reasons. One, it's easier for them. It streamlines it. It's easier for the citizen and the candidates. It's cheaper. It's more user-friendly, more efficient. Right now, most politicians spend more time dialing for dollars and doing pay-to-play dinners and all this corrupt shit. They do more of that than ever representing or legislating. Like, they should be spending most of their time legislating and representing people, and that's the least amount of what they do. And this would flip that script. They can do the representation by talking to the American people, having QAs, having virtual town halls, having polling, poll your district. Where does my district stand on this policy stance? What do you, America, want? Not what I'm going to force you to agree with. I want to know what you want, and I'm going to represent you when I'm in office. That's what a representative is supposed to be. So, like, it changes. It makes things easier on all sides. It's just that those that are already in power won't like the leveled playing field, but those that genuinely want to represent you absolutely love this. We've talked to tens of different politicians on this stuff. Anyone that has a genuine desire to represent you, they love this idea. And then so for the citizen side, like, as I keep saying, you don't want to spend hours and hours knowing how to do this stuff. You might be like, I have this really important question that I want to ask my my representative in my district, and this is the only issue I care about. I just need to know the answer to this, and that's going to make my voting decision easier. Well, we're going to build a system where you could submit that question and then have the candidates actually answer that question, and then you'll know once and for all. So all in all, it's about changing how we decide politics, not just going to the poll, holding our nose and voting D down the line or R down the line. It's about, being more involved in the primary. And it's even like, there's just like at most 2 actions, like, voting can happen up to just like basically twice a year, the primary and then the general election, if even once a year, less than that. So there's only 2 big actions to physically need to take in a year, but it's how we engage before that is essential. So, like, supporting a candidate to, like, amplify their voice, especially like a grassroots candidate. If they don't have millions of dollars to buy their voice, they need you to raise them up. And again, with the digital age, it's as easy as liking, sharing, and following and stuff like that. And we're gonna make it even more streamlined with this new digital politics hub. Actually, my dad said this over the weekend that really hit home. He said that in a lot of ways, we want politicians to act more like influencers, because, like, influencers are actually held more accountable. Like, influencers are like the new celebrity, but a celebrity was like this untouchable, people, like, some people like worship them, but like they're pie in the sky, like they're kind of cut off, and they're like, wealthy lifestyle, whatever, which is fine. But with influencers, they are actually held more accountable to the people, because they're only as influential as they have a following. And if they screw up, they lose their following. So there's situations, I forget the name, there's probably a million examples, but like this one person, she would like advertise a certain shampoo, and then it came out that she never even tried the shampoo, and it like hurt her career for like 2 years. Like, she lost like half her following. Like, that's accountability. The shampoos might not be a serious thing, but like, the idea is these people are held more accountable. And then so it's the same as journalists, independent journalists. If they gave you false information or something, they rely on the average American following and supporting them, rather than one big thing at the top giving them tons of money. And so they are more accountable. And so if politicians kind of start learning from that model, then, influencers are also more engaged with the people. They're listening to the comments and they have to respond to you and answer your questions. And like, and yeah, there's a lot of superficial influencers. There's a lot of directions. There could be serious ones, important ones, like, there's a whole spectrum of them. But, specifically for politicians, like, that is a healthy way to do democracy, is build a relationship with people through social media. So again, this is all like a cultural thing. It's looking at doing politics differently, seeing politics differently. And again, it works in a more efficient way, fair way, cheaper way, user-friendly way, average American. It makes it way more accessible to almost everyone to be able to do some part of democracy participation. So that's the big culture change that we're referring to. And, again, like, the biggest thing is that there's no accountability right now with the politicians. And so this would be healthy. It's a win-win where, like, it's easier for them to engage and learn what people want, and it holds them accountable to fulfill those needs. Like, okay, now you know what we want, fight for it, actually represent us for once. So to sum it up, it's all about this cultural change, mindset change. Like, sometimes people overemphasize the tech side of what we're doing. We are not a tech company. We are about the culture. We're the people first. We're the movement side. We're the heart side of it. The tech already exists. The tech is out there. Just people don't use it yet. No one's bought into it yet. That our job is to make a healthy interconnection. Yes, technology, but there also needs heart, and there needs to have citizens in control of this tech, or else it means nothing.
That was wonderful. And for my final thought, going back to Travis's train analogy, to get to, if you live in a small town, you got to go to the big city, right? You got to take a train, or what? Walk if you miss the train. So right now in politics, you either vote for the lesser of two evils or you don't vote, right? So how is change going to happen if you allow the establishment candidates to run amok in the ballot, or just not vote? So we are building a system, right, that not only rivals the current system, but gosh, actually gets you to the big city of democracy. It allows you to have more voice, have more opportunity to elect a representative who actually represents you. And like Travis said, politicians who aren't grimy want a better system. They want to talk to you. They want to engage more with you. And that's just not in the current system. So we are building that connective tissue between politicians, grassroots, journalists, citizens, and movements. So all of that can have better conversations in one place, and we can actually start, pushing the snowball down the hill.
Yeah, cool. So to kind of wrap up the episode here, so, again, it's really the tech side of it is actually easy. It already exists. A lot of the tech already exists. Really what we're doing as FiNC is, like, there's all these fragmented puzzle pieces of technologies. There's movements that already have, like, movement infrastructure and people infrastructure. And it's just all about the fragmentation is the problem. And so, we're here to zoom out, look at the bigger picture of civics and, like, the infrastructure of our democracy. And that's where we can all align. That's where there is no partisan division. There's an up-down division between the 1% that can buy the system and the 99% that want a real system of democracy. And so we can empower and plug in all citizens, independent journalists, grassroots candidates, give visibility where you're not buying. You don't have to sell your soul to gain millions to buy visibility. You just get visibility. And now, you don't just earn it all the way to the finish line, but you get some visibility as a politician. But now you have to prove to build a base, prove that people will, now that we're giving you a voice, we're handing you a microphone, now it's your time to win the citizens over, prove that you're trustworthy, prove that you can represent them fairly. Right now the politicians feel entitled. All they need to know is that they can raise millions of dollars from big donors. And then like that's all that matters. Up there, look at them, they're electable because they can raise millions of dollars. Doesn't matter they have a 20% approval rating and the citizens hate them. but they can raise millions of dollars. So that's all that matters. You know, everyone's going to vote D down the line or R down the line. So who the fuck cares about the citizens? No, we need to end that. That is not democracy. We are not playing like we have democracy as infrastructure, but we are manipulated into false choices, and it needs to end. Most people know it needs to end. You know, most people know we're at this major like tipping point, and that we need to move the needle differently. This breaks those patterns. This overrides the rigged system. And again, the best part is joining us doesn't mean, oh, I'm helping like the Democrats, or I'm helping the Republicans, or I'm helping this policy issue. No, you're just going to be more represented. This is not about one issue. This is about you being represented. You know, we don't know how policies are going to turn out. We want America to have their true answers, objective information, and actually empowered and holding these politicians accountable to their promises. Then let's see what happens. And I could guarantee you there's not going to be nearly as much division. You know, feels like we're all on different sides of issues, and some issues, yeah, we are. But it can be worked out. If we lived in a healthier democracy and the system actually worked as it was meant to, we wouldn't be nearly as divided, and we would work out our issues. So again, join us. You know, futureis.org. Like Liz said, if you add yourself to the newsletter, you'll get announced. It's pretty much on next in a couple of days, the first wave of joining. If you join the newsletter, you'll be invited in on January 5th to the Digital Politics Hub, and then we're gonna scale it up over the next few weeks. So again, huge new milestone for us, but we still need your help there. You know, spread the word, share us on socials, use the hub. You know, use the features that it's going to give you, the micro actions. If you have a trusted movement that you like, journalists you like, things like that, give us that information. You know, there's going to be different buttons to submit different ideas and information and your opinion. And we are listening. It's not like other movements that are just pretending to answer or read your answers, but you know, we truly want to implement your feedback into what we're building. So join us again. Futureis.org is a site. Our on our socials is @futureis.org, all one word. Join the newsletter for the announcement. Join the hub when it's out, and then yeah, there's a lot ahead of us this coming year. Next couple of months are going to be very exciting, and just need to keep growing this exponentially and build the people power. If we grow fast enough, we could have the first wave of digital democracy by the midterms, and then huge changes by the next general election. So yeah. Oh, and then I guess so next, you know, join us next week, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Next Wednesday, we do this once a week right now. Unless we have other guests and stuff, which we're going to start having guests very soon. So yeah, a lot of upgrading, a lot of new evolutions on our end, and finally really empowering you guys to be involved, right in the heart of it. So yeah, any final words, Liz?
Happy New Year, everyone. Drive safe, and gosh, time to make resolutions for yourself. Let's make a healthy democracy possible, right? You know, drive safe tonight, everyone, and we will see you next year.
Yep. Happy New Year.